Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Cowboys Report. I'm Tom Downey. Follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney. Next up, we're going to take you through 10 potential coaches Dallas could try to hire if the Cowboys miss the playoffs next year and Jason Garrett is fired. But first, a look at some guys who had missed the list. Some big names on here, guys like Jim Harbaugh, Bob Stoops, and Bill Cowher. I mentioned those three because they're probably not going to happen. I know that that's a very common desire there. You can throw in Jimmy Johnson since there's always one comment on that end. Those are guys that, for Stoops and Cowher, are retired. Cowher has not coached in over a decade now. He's not going to come back to the NFL. I don't think Jim Harbaugh is going to leave Michigan either. Two names that could be options, among others, are George Edwards and Todd Wash, two very good defensive coordinators that could be options for the Cowboys. Now, before we get into my top 10 list here, I want to know from you guys, who is your dream head coach hire for the Dallas Cowboys? It can be one of those guys I just mentioned. Maybe you want Jim Harbaugh. Maybe you want to go steal a guy like John Gruden from the Raiders. Maybe you want to get someone like Sean Payton. Get those comments in, and I'll see if I want to respond on the possibility of those guys coming to Dallas. Let's get into some 10 coaches here who could be candidates for next year's coaching carousel for the Dallas Cowboys if they do fire Jason Garrett again. I think all it needs to happen is Dallas miss the playoffs, and at that point, Garrett is on the outs. We start things off with one Kris Richard, who was the Seahawks DC for 3 years. Here's kind of the main issue with a guy like Richard coming as the Cowboys head coach. He has interviewed for head coaching jobs, but he's already on the staff, and if the staff isn't good enough to get the Cowboys into the playoffs, why would they want to retain Richard? I don't think this one is an ideal option with the way things are currently set. I think he'll be a head coach at some point. I just don't know if it's going to be with the Cowboys next year. He's an option worth considering, and I wouldn't totally rule out Richard potentially getting that as the interim coach over somebody with head coach experience like Scott Linehan or Rod Marinelli if things go really, really badly next year for the Dallas Cowboys. So Richard is our 10th option. Let's get to our next one. How about Dan Campbell? He was the Dolphins' interim head coach back in 2015. Did an okay job. He did interview for the Colts head coaching job, although he did not end up getting it. He played for the Cowboys from 2003 to 2005. He was on the NFL's list of potential head coaching candidates. This is the official NFL list. Of course, not everyone ended up getting hired from that list. Keep an eye on Campbell. I don't think he's quite ready, though, to be a head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. Some more guys with Cowboys connections. How about one Jack Del Rio? He played for the Cowboys from 1989 to 1991. Has head coach experience as the Jags and the Raiders head coach. He was in the mix to be the Giants DC, didn't get that job, but that tells me that Del Rio, at age 54, does not want to leave coaching yet. The Cowboys connection is why he ranks on here. I would be surprised if he got the job, and I think a lot of you guys wouldn't like it either. Speaking of not liking options, how about one John Fox? Now, he's close with Jerry and the Jones family. That could make him an option, but things did not go well with the Chicago Bears. Didn't end all that well with Denver either. Fox strikes me as we missed on some of the other options. Let's get John Fox in for like a year or a couple of years and then get a young offensive or defensive coach that we can groom to take over for John Fox. The issue is, didn't really work all that well under Wade Phillips and Jason Garrett, so maybe you don't want to end up going that route. Speaking of young coaches, how about Jim Bob Cooter, the OC for the Lions, is still just 33 years old. He will turn 34 before the start of the new league year, or a new season, I should say. Took over as Lions OC back in 2015, interviewed for that head coaching job, is sticking around with the staff as well. If the Cowboys want to go young and with an offensive mind, someone like Jim Bob Cooter I think makes a lot of sense. With that said, I think there are other younger OCs out there who could be options. Not younger, but also young OCs out there. We'll get to some of them in a little bit. One more defensive guy here in mind for you guys, or at least one of two more defensive guys, is Jim Schwartz, the Eagles DC. Things didn't go all that well with the Detroit Lions. Had the one good year, and then it all kind of fell apart for Schwartz. But he's done a fantastic job with the Eagles defense. I don't like giving credit to anything Philadelphia related, but Schwartz's defense is really good, and I think at some point he'll get another shot as a head coach. I think he could be an option for the Dallas Cowboys. You know, in the process, you do weaken a key rival. I don't know if you want Schwartz because he's a bit of a reach because he filled with Detroit. I think he is an option to monitor if Garrett gets fired next year. Speaking of defense, let's go younger here with Brian Flores. He interviewed for the Cardinals head coaching job. I think there's a very good chance he ends up being the Patriots' next defensive coordinator, although that job is still unfilled at this time. He's one of the top up-and-coming young coaches. I think that Flores, because he almost got the Cardinals job this year, is going to be an even hotter candidate next year, especially if he takes over the Patriots' defense and has them competing much like Matt Patricia did. I think Flores is definitely a name to monitor going forward. Speaking of Patriots coaches, Josh McDaniels, not on this list. He has burned all bridges outside of New England. There is no way he's going to be the Cowboys' next head coach because how is he going to fill out a staff? Like, I don't know anyone who wants to work with McDaniels outside of New England. So Flores makes more sense in that area, a good young defensive mind. 3 more guys here for you, all of them on the offensive side of the ball. Everyone wants to get the next Sean McVay. Well, Matt LaFleur has worked under Sean McVay, and he was the OC for the Rams, though he didn't actually call the plays. Now he gets 2 in Tennessee. He's worked under Kyle Shanahan as well. Those are 2 really good offensive minds to learn from. LaFleur actually interviewed for the Titans head coaching position. It went to Mike Vrabel, and Vrabel pulled in LaFleur to be the OC for Tennessee. Keep an eye on him. If Marcus Mariota has a better year, and I think he will because the Titans' play calling last year was just horrendous, I think you'll see LaFleur get mentioned for a lot of head coaching jobs out there. He could be a strong candidate for the Dallas Cowboys. Speaking of young OCs, John DeFilippo is one of my favorite guys. I wanted the Cowboys to add him as the OC this year. They ended up not firing Scott Linehan, so they missed the boat on that one. Did a fantastic job this year with the Eagles as their quarterbacks coach. Earned a lot of credit for helping develop Carson Wentz. Had some interest as a head coach. The Colts had some interest there, but they went with Frank Reich in the end. I think he's going to be the hot head coaching candidate next year in that Sean McVay mold. He's young. He hasn't even turned 40. He's still just 39 years old. Has the offensive mind. Keep an eye on John DeFilippo. I would like to see him as the Cowboys head coach if Jason Garrett is fired. Of course, the number 1 hire, and I think I already saw some of you guys throw it up in the comment section, is one Sean Payton, because he has constantly been linked to the Dallas Cowboys, has long been tied to Jerry Jones. They seem to get along well, have a nice little back and forth there. He would be a true home run hire. I don't know if it'll actually happen, though. He's going to be number 1 on any good hot board, but it's easier said than done to actually get Sean Payton on the Dallas Cowboys. For starters, he's under contract with the Saints. I don't know how likely it would be for Dallas to find a way to get Payton. The Saints are not going to just let him opt out of his contract. You have to trade for him. I don't like trading picks for coaches, but Sean Payton is really good. He would do wonders for Dak Prescott. So if Jerry Jones can somehow make it happen, and I never put anything past Jerry Jones because he makes a lot of unexpected things go down, Sean Payton would be the top candidate for the Cowboys if Jason Garrett is fired next year. Of course, we will wait and see if that is the case. We'll take you to those 10 guys for those of you just now joining us. Kris Richard, Dan Campbell, Jack Del Rio, John Fox, Jim Bob Cooter, the lesser 5 amongst a host of other guys like Marquand Manuel, Todd Wash, George Edwards, a bunch of other assistant coaches also just missed out. As for some more likely candidates, you got Jim Schwartz, who has some head coaching experience. Brian Flores is an up-and-comer on defense, as are OCs Matt LaFleur and John DeFilippo. And then you've got Sean Payton, who would be a home run hire, although maybe not the most likely option for the Dallas Cowboys. That does it for our show today. Follow me on Twitter at WhatGoingDowney for more Cowboys coverage, and I'll see you guys again on Tuesday for another Cowboys Report.